Good evening, class. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening.
How are you?
I am doing really well. You know what? Admittedly, a little tired today, but that is okay. That's all part of soul school. Sometimes we do what we do while tired, right?
Yeah, for me, pretty much always. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I stay perpetually tired, but that's because of the meds. But
Hmm.
classes in session. But I've learned a lot this week. Well, first of all, I'm still pretty much in 5D. I'm not doing real well assimilating back into 3D after Wednesday was the hospital and the infusion and the testing and all of that happened Wednesday. And then yesterday, my sister Christine and I drove down to Macon, which is about halfway between here and Savannah, and our dear friends Sean and Amy Moore, who live in Savannah, drove up. We drove down and we met and had lunch and then dessert in Macon, and got managed to get through Atlanta's ridiculous rush hour traffic on the way home. Did I
I
mention classes in session?
I think so.
I
Mhm.
think I did.
I
Yeah. Yes, because I learned a lot this week.
was going to say saying Atlanta and rush hour traffic is also like saying classes in session. So yeah, like,
Yeah. Well, I do avoid it like the Black Plague. And I don't get out much. I mean, most of my other than going to Houghton Lake for the women's retreat, our Mystical Awakening women's retreat a couple of weeks ago. That's the only trip that I've taken so far this year. It took me a full solid week to recover from it. I forgot how hard it is to travel, and it's the first trip that I've made since my diagnosis last July.
mm,
So it was kind of like testing the waters. Um, and then I'm scheduled to do an event in Savannah. So I don't have to get on an airplane. All I have to do is, say, yes, Greta, you'll be here to pick me up what time. And I can handle that just fine. And we'll drive down together. Um, God bless Greta. God bless Lenny. I don't know how, oh my God, I don't know how I would get through without those women. Somebody's got to take care of me, even if it's from a distance. But it'll be basically the same kind of uh, standard fare Paracon. It's called MacabraCon. So
mm.
if anybody's interested, check it out or ask Sean or Amy Moore if you know them, and they'll point you in the right direction for that. But you are absolutely welcome to come if you could make it. It's going to be in an old haunted theater. Um, Tonight's show, I didn't know quite what to do. I had so many thoughts at the beginning of the week about what would be good for Soul School tonight. So many different thoughts and notes that I had made, and maybe this would work and that would work. And then something really remarkable happened. When I went to the hospital Wednesday morning, my sister always takes me. She's so unbelievably wonderful. And I checked in at the desk and saw, I know everybody there now. I mean, I've been a patient of theirs for coming up on a year, so we all know each other by name. And it's just so strange. When I walk into that hospital, I feel almost like I'm walking into a fog,
Mhm.
into some kind of a altered state, like a different kind of a universe, really. Oh, the lighting is much better. Now I can actually see
I
you.
know. I'm sorry. I pre-apologized for my location tonight. It's different. So
It's okay. No, you're doing well.
Mhm.
Um, and when I went in and I checked in, and then I got my little wristband. They give you the wristband, and they do your number and give you your paperwork, and it takes 2 minutes. And then I went and I sat down, and there's my sister on her phone doing all of her phone things on her phone. And as soon as I sat down in the chair, the song Let It Be began to play, Paul McCartney. Um, and the day that I got diagnosed, that song popped into my head
Yeah.
and it has stayed there ever since. And then I had, on August 19th, when my friend Susie came down from Pittsburgh and gave me the Mother Mary statue, that it's so beautiful, the bust of the Blessed Mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that incident that occurred, and I think everybody knows about that watches the show. But I feel such a strong attachment to her. I always have. I don't think it's just
Mm-hmm.
residual Catholicism. I don't.
Yeah.
It's a real attachment.
Mm-hmm.
So I sit down in the chair. Let It Be comes on the stereo. It's piping all through the whole hospital. You can hear it everywhere. And I'm sitting there and I hung my head and I got very contemplative, but I also hung my head because my eyes were filling with tears
Mm.
and I didn't want Christine to see. Well, she doesn't have to see to know. And she looked over and she just kind of, what's wrong? What happened? Is something wrong? And I said, no, it's just this song, this song speaks to me. And every time I hear it, I cry and I'm sorry. I know you don't like for me to cry in public, but I'm sorry. I can't help it. And she just looked at me and she's like, "Oh, Anne, you cry at everything."
Mm.
And that's true. I had to walk away from the news tonight because of a story of a family of children that gave a special memorial service for their dog that had passed away. And I knew I wasn't going to get
Mhm.
through it. So that's when I got up and went in and made dinner for the two of us. I had to walk away from it because I knew it would rip my heart out of my body. And
Mm.
so, anyway, that was that, let it be. Um, when when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me.
Mm.
And then yesterday, we go into this really great restaurant called Oliver's. It's a bistro in Macon. And had a wonderful reunion. I hadn't seen Amy and Sean in months and months. And they came here last time, but we met halfway. And we had a wonderful server. And we were about halfway through our meal when I realized that no one had asked her name and she wasn't wearing a badge. So I stopped her when she came to check on us and just looked up into her face and I said, "Sweetheart, what's your name?" Now, how many thousands and thousands and thousands of names are there
Mhm.
for human beings to call each other? Her name was Mary. And I said, "Of course." And
Mhm.
I looked up and so did she. And she said, "Yeah, my mother named me for the Blessed Mother."
Mm.
And okay, you can call it coincidence if you want. That's fine. I think the word coincidence is a very fancy word for describing the synchronicities of life that don't make sense any other way.
Mhm.
And yet there it was.
Yep.
And so when I came back is when I sent you the message about what to do if you could come Friday night and everything. And so I'll just, in case anybody hasn't read this that's attached to the broadcast, I'll read it. This episode of Soul School will explore the role music plays in our lives, the songs that resonate and manifest universal messages for us to hear, if only we would listen. Coincidence is merely a disguise worn by the little miracles which surround us in a synchronized universe.
Mm.
Short but sweet and to the point. For me, this is mystical. For me, every time you send me a piece of music that has touched your heart or spoken to your soul, as soon as you send it to me, I click, I listen, I take it in, and I take in the messages, the same messages that spoke to you and the message that told you to send it to me. Um, and we're both music lovers. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it is a universal language. There
Mm-hmm.
isn't a single culture on this planet that exists that doesn't make their own brand of music. Not one.
Mm-hmm.
And even the Aborigines, even the lost cultures in the Brazilian rainforest that have managed to hide from civilization forever, have their own rhythm, have their own dance, have their own beautiful, special form of making music with their own handmade instruments. It
Mm-hmm.
is integral to who we are, it is part of the human expression. And plays very heavily into my connection with the galactic family. When I do an event and I go out and I stand on a lakefront or a beach or, even in the middle of a parking lot, I sing to them. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that the songs that I am singing to them, that they relate to. And I don't know if they love the music that I sing for them because it's my favorite music, or if it's my favorite music because it's their favorite music.
Mm.
I still don't know that, and I probably never will. But they have, a whole list of, they really like the singers and standards from the 40s. I can tell you that for sure. But, yeah, I've probably a couple of hundred songs
Mm.
that over the years started when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And I first heard Swinging on a Star
Mm.
and Frank Sinatra. And I would go out. My parents would find me in the middle of the night in bare feet in winter in my nightgown on the swing set, swinging and singing that song to the
Mm.
sky.
Mm.
I have no memory of that. None.
Mm.
I don't, but they did. My mother used to talk about it all the time. She said, "Oh, yeah, that started when you were knee high to a grasshopper." My mother and her southern phrases.
Mm-hmm.
And my father said, "Oh, yeah, I carried you up, put you in bed. I don't know how many times." And they didn't even, it wasn't like I snuck out of the house, but I was quiet. And my mother would just have a sense that I wasn't in the house, and they would go looking for me, and that's where they would find me. Didn't matter what season, didn't matter. Um, and that was my calling,
Mm.
and it was my way of calling out to them. But I didn't know it. I was too young to even understand what was happening, let alone even remember it.
Yeah.
But it has been verified by every member of my family. So I guess I did it. Um, and, there have been, music has a way of, I think, reaching deep down into us. It's something that touches our souls. I've always said, if you're not an animal lover, I just don't even want to know you, because
Mm.
I just don't. If you don't love nature and critters and this planet, then go on, have a good life. But we don't really have anything to discuss. And I know that you're the same way. You pick your people based on their vibration, and a lot of that vibration for me comes through music.
Mm-hmm.
um, and so I wanted to talk about that tonight because I think that it is very, very healing. I remember the first day when I had my first PET scan, when they detected all the tumors. And I walked into the lobby of the hospital, and the first thing that happened was the Age of Aquarius started playing.
Mm.
And I looked over at the desk and I said to the woman, "Oh my God, that's one of my favorite songs." She's like, "Oh my God, I haven't heard it in forever." And I said, "It's not part of your natural, your loop of songs that you do for the hospital." And um, she said, "No." I no. And so I just sat there and I listened to it. And Chris is like, "Let's go, Ann, let's go. Let's, go get lunch." It was late. I said, "Let's go, let's go." And I'm like, "Not till this is over." And when it ended with let the sunshine in, it just lifted me up so much. And, I had asked the Galactic family to please accompany me to the hospital, to be there for me. Well, that was the way for them to tell me that they were right there. And
Mm-hmm.
I walked out, and the young man who parked my sister's car was there, and his name is Mike. And I said hi, and I didn't really know him that well yet. This was quite a while ago. And I just stood there and I looked up. It was a crystal blue sky, not a cloud to be seen anywhere. And I just stared and stared and stared at the sky. And all these lights were flashing, these little pins, like pinpot points of light everywhere, just sparkling like distant sparklers going off. It was just so beautiful.
Mm.
And he walked over to me and he put his arm around my shoulder, which is unusual for a valet parker to do that to a patient at a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But I just leaned right into him, and he leaned over and he said, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "Look up, look up." And he did. And he said, "What is that?" I said, "That's my galactic family. I asked them to please come because I had a really important test today, and it, comforts me to have them around." He's like, "Your galactic family?" I said, "Yeah, extraterrestrials." He's like, "I always believed, but I've never seen that before. I've never seen this before." And I said, "Well, let me tell you, from now on, you'll see them all the time, because now they know who you are, and now they know that you care about me." And that was how we parted, with a hug that
Mm.
day. And he has since become a friend of ours.
Mm.
He's just the most lovely young man.
Mm.
And, he's like, "I've got their car. I've got it." He's like, he rushes when he sees us pull in. He's like, "I've got them." And it's so sweet and so tender and so filled with love and acceptance. And I don't have any qualms about saying what I'm looking at. It never even occurred to me to say I'm just, enjoying the morning sky.
Mm-hmm.
No, talking to my family. They're here watching over me, taking care of me, lifting me up out of dark space. And I'm so grateful. Um, and then on the way home, Chris put it on the radio, um, and Let It Be came
Mm.
on. And so it's kind of been a part of my journey, I
Mm.
guess I should say. So I know that you are as deeply affected by music as I am. I play 7 instruments. I'm a singer. I've done, I don't know how many shows on stage, singing, dancing, carrying on like a fool. It's just a part of who I am. It's in my DNA. I'm hardwired that way. Um, but tell me your story, Jeff, and
Mm.
why music touches your heart the way that it does.
Yeah. Um, yeah, for sure. Well, I've always been deeply, deeply, deeply moved and influenced by music. I mean, I think everybody has in some way, but music has always been like at least 50 to 60% of my personality. You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
bands I'm into at the time, the music that I'm listening to very much informs my personality. I'm typically even what I'm studying, what I'm reading typically tends to coincide, just kind of the way my brain makes little connections, coincides with a certain style or vibe of music I happen to be vibing with at the time. It's just kind of how it works. My wife and I, for years, were also the music directors at the church where we were pastors. So, I mean, it's just a deep, deep part of our lives since the time I was a teenager. I started playing guitar when I was ninth grade, I think, which was, I mean, at least 10 years ago, more than that. And, I played many more than that, actually. And then over the years, I played,
Yeah, I was just doing the math, Jeff, and I suck at math, but it
it
was
was a,
more than 10 years ago.
it was a joke, guys. No. um, and then over the years, I really just became fascinated with different types of instrumentation. I played the didgeridoo. I played the Irish low whistle. I played the ocarina. I played everything from weird percussion instruments to, whatever. I just really, music's just always been a deep, deep part of my life. But there is a reason, I think, why we're so moved by music and the concept thereof. And I think it's because we all perceive that there is a deep, deep order to the universe. And the Pythagoreans talked about, the music of the spheres, and music theory really even comes to us from Pythagorean thought, which is religious, spiritual, not just mathematical. It was kind of all of those things at the same time. And, music theory really kind of comes to us from this notion of this belief that all of reality is harmonious and right. So that you can, now Pythagoras, if he actually existed as a historical person, was wrong about some of his theories, just going to prove that there is a little bit more chaos involved in the order than there is just pure order. But that just means chaos is a part of the order. But we perceive this harmonious underpinning, this undercurrent of reality, and I think it's one reason why we connect with songs so much. Like, there's one particular song that I have listened to obsessively over the years. In fact, the title of the song is Obsession. And it's actually an old like Christian praise and worship song from like the mid 90s. And it kind of appears out of nowhere on this album that is otherwise more what you would expect from such an album. And then this track is just like, where did this come from? It's in B minor, well, it's in D, but it just starts off with B minor, climbing down from B minor, A, G, E flat minor seventh. It's just this downward do 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 do, like very slow. And then it's the whole song is just about this like journey of being obsessed with the divine and being obsessed with the supernatural and the spiritual pursuit. But it just climbs down, 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 down. And then the chorus is just this simple refrain of "and my heart burns for you." So the verses are just this question of why, basically, what is this longing? And then the chorus is just, my heart burns. I don't know, but my heart burns for you. And then the chorus climbs up. It's G, A, so the fourth to the fifth and back to the first, which is the D. But then it comes with the D over F sharp minor. So the first time it's like, it climbs up and then it hesitates and then it resolves by climbing up all the way. And it's like, somebody might not understand that if you don't understand music, but to me, it's like the words, the message, and the way the notes move along, it perfectly mirrors what the song is saying. And I think that's just how reality works. Music itself is a parallel to how reality works. There is this deep, deep current underneath us all that is almost musical. Reality does make sense. People talk about everything just being senseless and orderless. It's like, I really don't think so. And I've really looked pretty deeply into it. There is some chaos thrown into it, but that's part of it. Because sometimes a good song will just have this crazy bridge thrown into it, or it will just have this crazy key change, but it only makes the song all that more interesting and dynamic. The reality is anything but a 4-chord boring song. It's all over the place. Sometimes it's jazz, sometimes it's reggae, sometimes it's God knows what, but reality, there is an order to it. There is a rhythm to it. There is a harmony to it. There truly is a music of the spheres. And there's also like one of the interesting things, the Psalter, the Jewish Psalter, which is the Psalms, right in the middle of basically you crack open an Old and New Testament, you'll probably hit the Psalms. Something interesting about this is a book that was entirely, this book was sung. This book was not just read in a monotone voice. This was sung. And it's the thing that all
As is the
Of
liturgy in the Catholic Church too, a great deal of
absolutely.
it. Yes.
Yeah, and the liturgy in the Catholic Church, the liturgy in the Orthodox tradition as well. A friend of mine, John Shaya, he's a Catholic of the Marianite tradition, and he talks about that too. He was like, I very much grew up. He always says this about his upbringing. He's like, you did not talk about sacred things. You sang about sacred things
Yeah.
because there is something about singing the sacred that evokes something in you that nothing else can evoke. And it's interesting because in the Psalms, in the Psalter, you will notice when you're reading, it'll oftentimes say to the tune of, you know,
Mm.
to the minister of music on this particular instrument and sung to the tune of. So these are words that the psalmists write, and then they say, oh yeah, but sing this to the tune of Boots of Spanish Leather by Bob Dylan, or sing this to the tune of this. I mean, that's what it would be like. It would be like a recognizable folk tune or something that has a certain, wail to it. It has a certain, it evokes certain things. This one might make you feel, deeply, almost heartbroken. This one might make you feel joyous and the sensation of springtime and young love and whatever. And this one might make you feel more like it might sound more like a dirge. But the Psalms are set to specific tunes on specific instruments because specific tunes and specific instrumentation unlock us in certain ways. It just does. There's even in the Old Testament, there's the the story of King Saul, where it says he would be essentially vexed by by a spirit, let's just say whatever, and it said an evil spirit would vex him and torment him, and he would have David, King David, the future soon in future King David at the time, to play the harp, and when he would play the harp, this spirit would leave him, and so again, there's this connection between the spiritual realm and music, the mood it puts us in, what we sort of attract to ourselves when we're in a certain mood. Also, all throughout the Old Testament, when prophets wanted to get into a state where they could prophesy, they wanted to get into a state where they could like hear divine messages and divulge those messages, certain instruments would be played, and it could have been sort of like whipping them up into sort of this frenzy, or it could have just been this sort of meditative state it put them into, but where messages could flow more easily. And that's just this one particular tradition. All religious traditions have something like this. The didgeridoo of the Aborigines, it's just this drone, this like whoom, this bellow from the center of the earth sound that puts you in this sort of meditative state again to receive visionary experiences.
Like
very much so, yeah. And so anyways, that's just to say, I mean, music, it puts us in the state of encountering spirit, I think, because in some ways it's really kind of helping us to align with how reality actually functions, which reality I do think has a very real pattern to it. And it's like Western music sounds a certain way, and maybe let's say you hear Middle Eastern music and there's some notes we're not used to hearing, or there's combinations of notes we're not used to hearing combined, and so to us that might sound discordant or disharmonious, and to them ours might, but it isn't. It's just a different cultural sound. And so when we're also paying attention to reality, to us that might not sound musical, it might not sound harmonious, but that's just because we're dealing with a way more complex set of notes than maybe we're used to hearing. But I'll just that was me just kind of belching out a bunch of information there about just music and song and sound in general. But
how many angels do you know that don't have a harp?
Yeah, right. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that symbolism. And it does say that in the book of the Revelation, the angels in heaven, they have the bowls of incense that are the prayers of the saints, and then these harps as well. And so that, are there actually do these celestial beings in these other realms literally play stringed instruments the way that we would on earth, or are these just showing us like, okay, this is what you're modeling down there, but it's probably something that isn't really just a harp the way that we play, whatever, I don't know. But like the point is that that is as much a part of that world as it is ours, and we're
Yeah.
sort of this like filtered down version of this greater reality. And when we connect with it, we're connecting with a greater reality. And actually, when you said this week, or when you sent that description this week about the excuse me, about, you know, talking about music and the power thereof this week, it was very interesting because I I have I have really just not listened to music in a while. I've been very much more in a listening to lectures, listening to audiobooks sort of headspace, you know, listening to stuff like that. And why, I don't know. I just have been. I've been more just in like this learning phase. And I mean like for a year, you know. But over the last week or two, I've just really I really felt a definite calling to shut out all just information and just reconnect with music. So when he sent that, I was like, okay, that's very fitting to where I am right now, because I've just been listening to music and different playlists from different eras of my life that remind me of different things, that bring me um, back to different places, and then exploring new stuff that kind of launches me into new territory. But the thing about it is like this. I think, at least for my personality, I'm always just absorbing information. I'm always listening to teachers, listening to lectures, listening to books. And it's like all that information is like, it's, you're absorbing it, it's getting into you, you're soaking it up, but you're not always processing it, right? It's kind of like being held in there, but it's not really processing. But then, like for me now, just listening to stuff, I'll be like just in the middle of a song, has nothing to do with anything that I read 2 weeks ago. But then all of a sudden, in this moment where my brain is not like just intensely engaged in trying to figure out a subject, it's just relaxed. It's just listening. It's just passively listening, being carried along by the melodies and the harmonies, being carried along by the verses and the chorus and the verse and the chorus and the bridge and the key change. It's just being carried along. All of a sudden, then all of that which has been sewn into me, whether through teachers or books or whatever, all of a sudden then it just comes to the surface, because
Yeah.
it's allowed a chance to grow when I just stop. And therein even is sort of the mystery of just let it be, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. You took the words literally right out of my mouth. But you know, when I listen to a sublime piece of music, you know
Mm-hmm.
how I always tell everybody, you know, quit swimming against the current. You're going to
Yes.
exhaust yourself and drown if you don't stop it. Just when it gets all to be too much, just flip over and float. When I'm listening to music, that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
I'm letting the current carry me.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
I'm letting the vibration carry me.
Yes.
You know, there are some songs that I was literally formed an attachment to the
Mm-hmm.
first time I ever heard them. Um, a case in point would be the song "Love Song" by Elton John.
Mm-hmm.
Love is the opening door. Love is what we are here for.
Mm.
You know, and you know what's a shame is that we can't play even a few bars of any of this music tonight because the rules are structured in such a way that we would need to have permission
Yeah.
from ASCAP, or could be fined $20,000,
Right.
or YouTube would take us down. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah.
such a shame. The thing that is the best thing that human beings do, arguably,
Yeah.
and it's meant to share, but we're on a platform and a forum that won't allow it because of the rules and regs of the platform, which I understand. You know,
Yeah.
like, people shouldn't have their music pirated and, you know, that type of thing. But, you know, all we can do is say the names of the songs and hope that our audience will go listen to them,
Yeah.
you know, and really listen to them,
Mm-hmm.
because there are messages. The Moody Blues, for instance, have all sworn ever since the late 60s that they were visited and they were taken um, off planet, and that they were downloaded with all of the music that they produced from that point on.
Mm-hmm.
After they were all taken together, they were all returned together, they all swear it.
Yeah. Mm.
um, and that everything, and it sounds like two different bands. If you listen to the Moody Blues prior to 1968 and then everything that came after that, it's like a different group of men
Hmm.
producing something that is absolutely ethereal. When
Hmm.
my mother had a near death experience very early in life, um, that's all she wanted to talk about was
Hmm.
the music where she went, the music where she went, the colors and the music
Hmm.
that she had never heard before that made her feel like she was just liquefied, that she became part of it.
Hmm.
And I think it is part of us. She was part
Yeah.
of it. It was part of her. And I don't know who made the decisions or how it all happened, but she came back.
Hmm.
While she was gone, she didn't remember that she had children or a husband. She didn't care. She
Hmm.
said she had no concern about anything except the sublime place that she was and
Hmm.
wanted to stay.
Hmm.
It was not
Yeah.
her choice to come back.
Huh. Once or twice in very intense dream experiences. My spiritual experiences tend to come to me in dreams. Like my most intense ones have been like that. But once or twice I have caught an earful of a kind of music that I can't explain. And I can explain music. I can't explain music, but I mean, you know what I mean? I
Yes.
know the pattern, but I
Music
have,
theory. Music is math, which is why
yeah,
I don't
it
understand
is.
why I suck at math, and yet I was born knowing
Yeah,
how to read music.
right.
Nobody had to teach me how to read music or
Yeah,
to play all these instruments.
yeah, yeah.
I
But
just knew.
right. But I have on occasion heard something that it's like, uh, I've never heard that before. And it
Yeah.
reminds me, I talk often of the kind of Pentecostal Christian tradition that I grew up in. But there is a phenomenon that's been documented in religious in the history of religious revivals over the years. Okay, and this phenomenon is called the heavenly choir. And what this is it's moments of congregational singing where, because the Pentecostal experience is very unique, and it's not actually exclusive to the Pentecostal experience, but the Pentecostal experience is very crowd participative. It's very, it's and not through like the repetition of the liturgy, which I'm totally for, by the way. I'm, in fact, I prefer that, but it's very much crowd led. The people who are on stage are really just there to kind of facilitate and allow the crowd to have a worship experience. And I like it in that way. It's a very egalitarian approach to spirituality and religion. But the heavenly choir is this phenomenon where the crowd takes over. And I've been in crowds 10,000 strong plus in massive movements in the past where it's a full band on stage, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, bass guitar, keys, two keys, Hammond B3, drums, percussion, whole band, but the entire band just gets drowned out by the sound of the crowd who will all just start. It's I mean it's preternatural. I mean, if you're to be there in it, where everyone just starts singing and everyone's harmonizing, there's always a guy or two who's
I have
really,
felt it. I have been a
yeah,
member of several very large choirs.
yeah,
And I have had those moments,
yeah,
whether it was singing in my college choir,
yeah,
with men's choirs from other universities, because I went to a women's college. So we'd put both choirs together, and
yeah,
suddenly you have 200 people singing
yeah,
5-part harmony.
yeah,
And you feel it right through
yeah,
your whole sternum. It's visceral.
yeah,
It is, you can feel the hairs stand up on your body
yeah,
and in the back of your neck, and chills come up the side of your face,
yep,
holding a note just perfectly
yep,
for the time that you're supposed to hold it until the director moves that one little finger and
yeah,
everybody stops. And is not of this world.
It isn't. And it is not, man. And that's the interesting thing about some of these too, is it's like, it's the congregation. And I mean, the one church I was a part of, I mean, it was about a 2,000 member, 1,500 actually member congregation before this sort of religious revival broke out. Within months of it breaking out, there were 10,000 people lining up at 6 a.m. in the morning to get in the 7 p.m. service. And this went on for almost 10 years because people were having just insane encounters with spirit. But that was one of the hallmarks of it. It was like everybody would just erupt in song and everybody's harmonizing. And it's like the people who are singing behind you very poorly 5 minutes prior to the actual song, now you would think this was a congregation of seraphim singing. And there would be these moments, though, when everyone is joining in, where it's like this is the congregational sound going up. And then you really, truly felt as if there was something else coming down and connecting. And it was just this, you didn't know where one started and where the other stopped. And you really, at some point, and that's the phenomenon in church history of the heavenly choir. This was very common in the Welsh revival of 1904 and 1905, and others going back to 59 in Wales as well, where there was just this thing of congregational singing. But then people would be like, but then there's these other, it almost sounds like you're literally singing with a heavenly choir. It's just indescribable. But in some of these moments, people would just start being, and I don't make claims like this lightly. I really don't. But I've been in a meeting where this was happening.
Yeah.
And there was a girl next to me who I met prior to the service. Okay, I met this girl prior to the service. It was very evident she had an issue with her spine. And she told me she had scoliosis. Yes. And I also, at that same time, had shingles on my leg. I was in my mid-20s, but I was also very stressed out and had chickenpox as a kid, so it came back. And I had very painful shingles on my leg, like open sores on my legs. It killed. I didn't know what was happening, and a doctor looked at me while I was down in Florida and was like, "You've got shingles, man." I was like, great time to get them on vacation here. But we were visiting this congregation that was experiencing this thing, whatever. But that's what's happening. It's in the middle of this kind of like heavenly choir moment where where there's like this harmony between heaven and earth, where realities are sort of mapping on top of one another, right? Where earth is sort of getting in tune with this other realm, the deeper order. However one wants to imagine that happening. It was just like we were resonating with this higher order, right? I feel like this heat go all over my body, specifically where the shingles were on my legs, like burning, more so than the shingles themselves were burning. I mean, it was like evident that this was something other than just the pain.
Fire.
I felt this fire and heat go through my leg. The girl with scoliosis next to me screams, like somebody terrified her. And I mean, I hear pops. I don't know her to this day. I cannot say to this day what happened to her, what state she's in, but she jumped up like she was totally healed and actually testified to being completely healed. Again, I don't know her name. I don't have a medical report, so I will make no claims on that. But she was sitting right next to me, and it was at the same moment where I felt that. The next day, these open sores on my legs was gone. Just like red, like new skin. Like it was gone. I was like, what in the world? But it was just this moment where it was like earth, let's say. In this realm, we sort of came in contact with the deeper order, and we were just mirroring it through this phenomenon of the heavenly choir. And when we did that, it was like the two worlds kind of came together. And I've thought of this over the years. Like, however, I'm very open to all forms of spirituality. I have my particular practice, but I'm not. I don't discriminate. Okay, so I'm not gonna. To me, it doesn't necessarily have to do with one particular thing. But to me, the archetype there is that there is a deeper order. There is something more harmonious in the cosmos than what we often perceive. And when we get in touch with it, and sometimes that manifests through this, in this particular setting, through this harmonious singing, which I think is mirroring the harmony of the cosmos, that all of a sudden that just manifests, and it manifests in healing. It manifests in emotional breakthroughs and all sorts of things. Now that might be on a macro scale, but you can you can bring that to bear on your normal everyday life. Like for me, I mean, seriously, I can curate a playlist on my phone, on my Spotify. I can curate a playlist that will put me in a state where I receive spiritual downloads
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I can also curate a playlist that can put me into a deep, deep depression like that. And they
Yeah.
both work like magic
Yeah.
because it's magic. It's true and it's real. It puts me in a state, and then whatever state I'm in, I am reaching for that state in the invisible world, and I'm manifesting it. And if it's depression, and look, I don't mean to say if you listen to a sad song you're gonna like necessarily mad. I like listening to sad music sometimes. It doesn't always make me sad. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes I need a good cry. And so I put on a song that's just gonna make me cry. And it's not because I want to be all mopey and depressed
Yeah.
and Eeyore-ish about the state of the world. It's just sometimes it's fine.
Be careful what you say about Eeyore. You know,
I,
he's my
I love
favorite.
Eeyore. Mine
He
too. He's a
knows,
good guy.
like what my mother knew. He knows how to be
Mhm.
happy being miserable.
Exactly.
Even miserable, he
Yeah.
knows he's happy.
Right.
You know,
And
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 that's
that's
a
and that's half
very
the point too,
valuable
right?
gift.
It
Yeah.
is. And that's
Yeah.
half it too. It's like I can listen to a sad song and still be happy. Some people are like, "Oh man, you're listening to some depressing music." And I'm doing it with a smile on my face because it's like, no, it's just the gamut of human emotions. It doesn't have to bring you down, but even so, I can amp things up sometimes. Like if I'm really down and I just want to be down, because we do that sometimes, or like not only am I just in a funk, I want to dig deeper into this funk because I'm just mad. We do that sometimes. So
Yeah.
I'll listen to stuff that just makes me more and more in that funk. And guess what? My day will manifest funkiness because I've decided I'm going to be in a funk, But then if I'm like, I want, like, no, I want to, I really want to break through. I really need clarity and stuff. There's stuff I'll put on. It'll clear things right up. Downloads come to me like that. I get clarity. I get instant clarity on things. And it's like, it's just, what are you tapping into? Music is a way of tapping into the unseen. It
Mhm.
just is, whether that unseen is the negative unseen or the positive unseen. Music is a way of sort of like, music is like a hyperlink
It
to,
is. It
to,
is.
to that. Yeah.
It is that. And the thing that's so amazing about it, and I'll as a case in point, well, from my trilogy, every volume of the three
Mm-hmm.
has got lyrics and quotations from music and songs that we sang all together as a family growing up. We were just a very, very musical family, parents
Mm-hmm.
and children. All of us were singers, all of us were musicians, all of us were. That was just a absolutely normal part of our lives. And the spirits in the house would they would finagle with the radio,
Hmm.
especially around the holidays. And they would put it on, if, we had it on more modern music of the time, but the holidays were coming. All of a sudden, you could hear the stereo go, and you could literally see it would go all the way up to a station called WLKW out of Providence. And as you were getting to the up to the Christmas holidays, that's all they would play was Christmas music. And they loved it. They loved it. So we would leave it on and we learned all the Christmas music. And I sang in the church choir and I sang in the school choir. And it was just, I was inundated and inundated. And we had several incidents at the house that were music related, including when Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues came bursting out of an old antique radio that didn't even have any guts in it. It was just a showpiece. It was a beautiful radio. My sister still got it. It lives 2 miles down the road. And but there was nothing in it. It didn't even have a plug to put into an outlet. And yet here comes that song blasting out of it to the point where everybody in the house had to leave the house with their ears covered because it was so loud. And then like 45 years later, I'm sitting with a friend one day and it popped into my head. And I said, Google it, pull it up and play that. So it just came into my head. And as I'm listening to it, including the, cold hearted orb that rules, all the words, the poetry that goes with it and everything, that's very paranormal, very spiritual, very extraterrestrial in nature. And I'm listening to it, and then comes the chorus. And what is the chorus? And I love you. Oh, I love you.
Hmm.
And all those years, I listened to it, and it never occurred to me that that was the way they could tell our family that they loved us.
Hmm. Wow. Hmm. That's amazing. Wow. You want to know something interesting too when you say that? Just a similar in terms of phenomenon. We were in the Dominican Republic probably about maybe 11 or 12 years ago, and we were doing a medical clinic, and it was just thousands of people came in over the week, and we had doctors and surgeons there who were doing what they did, and we were also doing stuff for the kids during the day, like entertaining the kids so the parents could go into the clinic. And we were overseeing that whole aspect of things, doing activities for the kids and whatnot. And, we're playing music and there's puppet shows and all kinds of stuff, just whatever to just keep them entertained. And the little boom box we had, because like the system wasn't working, we had a little boom box for music. We were like, somebody forgot the plug. And we were like, shoot,
the batteries are going to run out.
What are we going to do? And so we check, and there are no batteries either. And we're like, shoot. Guess what? The entire day, the boombox worked without a plug and without batteries. All day long, the boombox worked exactly as we needed it to, exactly as though it were powered, and it was not. And when the day was over, dead as a doornail. Which is just amazing to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, miraculous.
Yeah.
That is, and the spirits and that realm manipulate our current electricity and the currents that pass through us, and we are really kind of conduits, and music is part of that channel that comes through and goes out into the universe. And yet the inspiration that created the music came from the universe.
Yes.
So it is that creative process, that perfect circular interaction that occurs when you understand that you are a part of the whole, that all of it is one thing. It's energy. And that includes inexplicable things that occur. If I put a watch on that's got a brand new battery in it, it's dead in 15 minutes. When I'm doing filming for a TV show or whatever, I tell them, make sure you have battery backup. Make sure you have battery backup. Because if you don't, this is going to be your shortest interview ever. And without fail, 15, 20 minutes in, the red light starts flashing on the 4K unit, and everybody stop, and time to switch out the battery. And that I can drain it 10 feet away. 10 feet away. I just suck the energy out of everything that is an electricity source. And I cannot explain it. And it's called reverse polarity. I don't understand it, but it is. And it's a thing. And, there's no point in denying it. And you can call it mystical. You can call it miraculous. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I don't really feel the need to call it anything. I just observe it and I interact with it.
Yeah.
We all have the capacity to manipulate the energy that we use, and that, we're not creating it and we're not expelling it. We are it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we open that channel and let that in and through, it literally changes who you are in terms of your own spiritual metamorphosis.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. And even just again, going back to the Pythagorean notions of music, I mean, the idea that you could take that you could perfectly double the size of of an object,
Mhm.
and then you strike it, and you would get the same note in a lower or higher frequency, based on the size. If you perfectly doubled it, you would get the same note, just higher, and this is or lower. And this is the discovery of the concept of an octave, right? That an
Mhm.
octave is the same note, just all the
Just,
way up the scale. Do,
yep,
re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and then you're back to do, 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 same note, but you got to go re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti to get back, right? That'll bring us back to do. But when you
got,
get back to do, you're back to do, but you're higher than you were on the last do. That's an octave. It's when you go do, 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 right? That's jumping an octave. The Pythagoreans discovered that through the doubling of the size of an object and realizing you could make the same note just higher or lower based on whether you perfectly reduce it or increase its size. And that's really, so again, that's sound, that's mathematics, but that's also spirituality and spiritual transformation. That spiritual transformation and going to higher levels, there's it's always a returning to where you started, but you're always at a higher frequency when you return
mhm.
to where you started. Because we think, again, I've said this before, but like people, if I like, you're moving in a circle and people hear that and they're like, that just sounds absolutely abysmal because we're just doing the same thing over and over again. But that's because you're looking at it from the top and all you see is a circle. But if you flip it, you'll see it's like a spiral staircase where you're actually
Mhm.
going up, not just going around. And that's the whole concept even of spiral dynamics. If people know Ken Wilber's work and all that, I would encourage you to look into that. But like if you take a spiral staircase and you turn it this way, all you see is a circle. But if you turn it this way, you realize you're going up.
Yes.
Music is like that. Do, re, mi, fa, so. It'll bring us back to do, right? But when you're back to do, you're higher. It's
Mhm.
not just always going back, it's always going up. And so the spiritual journey, like the musical journey, is a journey. You're always moving, and there's a certain pattern, and it's not always exactly the same. It's not always that, first, second, first, fourth, fifth, minor, sixth. It's not always how it works. But like it is a moving forward and then a returning to where you started, but from a higher place. But it's the
Right.
same, but it's higher.
But it's
So
higher.
again, the spiritual journey is hidden in music, the musical journey and the mathematical journey. It's all one thing. It's
You
amazing.
sent me a lovely piece I wanted to share,
Mm-hmm.
when I reached out to you and said, how about this for the show? And you sent me this wonderful thing written by Hopkins called The Habit of Perfection.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason that people meditate to very soothing, calming music because it
Mm-hmm.
takes them to a certain place.
Yeah.
But silence can do that too.
Yeah.
And this is what you sent me that he wrote. Elected silence, sing to me
Mm-hmm.
and beat upon my world ear. Pipe me to pastures still and be the music that I care to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Like the, um,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what's the word? My Scytherism is the sound, the music that the wind makes as it
Mm-hmm.
passes through the leaves of a tree.
Yeah.
Anyone familiar with the show knows that we open it and we close it with the singing bowls. My friend Christine Rogalski was so kind to record her mystical bowls, and that's the music that I chose to for the entrance and the exit to this show because it brings you to a higher level. It brings you, even if it's short, our intro is relatively short, and yet every time we're getting ready, you know, Bill's in back and he's like, okay, 30 seconds. And we take our place and we're ready. And the sound of the sublime sound of the bowls just takes me to a whole nother level. And in what, 15, 20 seconds, I'm ready. But if I wasn't quite ready before the intro, I'm ready by the end of the intro.
Yeah.
Because of that music.
Yeah.
Because of the images that we overlaid on that music.
Yeah.
That take you to the pyramids, that take you to Stonehenge, that take you out into the universe and then bring you back.
Yeah.
You know, it's transformational. It's, you know, transcendental. And I feel like it is the greatest gift that we give each other, culture to culture to culture. If we can learn about an entire culture of people just listening to the music they create.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and very distinctive. You know, if you're stepping into a pub in Scotland and you're hearing the music of Scotland, you know it's Scottish music. You know it's different than Irish music. It's different than English music. It's different than Chinese music. It's different than Japanese music. It's, you know, it's, and yet you can absorb and assimilate the philosophy, the history of an entire culture by simply listening to their music and being transported to where they are in mind and in space. It's absolutely magical.
I think so. And I mean, I've often heard, whether this is you know, an apocryphal story or whether this is a true story or not, I think we've all heard it in one form or another, you know, about the, you know, the baby bird who's isolated from its species, right?
Yeah.
And it never hears its quote unquote native song. It never hears the sound its species makes, let's say. And so it's mute because it never hears its native sound. But then upon being exposed to its native sound, its species song, it instantly begins to squawk out that song without having learned it, without having heard it. It's just instantly, because it's in the DNA. It's epigenetic. It's as in the genes as, you know, a chicken, if a hawk flies overhead, the baby chick will freak out because it's a predatory bird. And
no, the baby chick, and I know this for a fact, will, in my own playpen backyard, the baby chicks will go hide up underneath the wings of mommy, and mommy freaks out. Not the babies. The babies go run and hide. And she lifts the wings and takes them in.
And they have no reason. They have no reason to know that, but it's in the DNA.
Yes.
It's there. It's stored there. And a culture's pain, a culture's joy, a culture's folk beliefs, all those things are uploaded. It's like uploaded into the sound of their music. And so I think too, culturally, if you happen to come from a certain culture, when you hear the music of the culture from which you hail, it does awaken things in you. It will stir things up in you. Like the sort of music, folk music and stuff that I tend towards also happens to coincide with my ancestry I didn't really know about, because I don't come from a family where, you know, that was really a thing where we celebrate our national heritage. It just was never really a thing we talked about. But it just so happens those certain sounds awaken in me certain feelings, and it just so happens that's also in my physical DNA, you know, and it's who you are, and you resonate with that sound. You know, it's like the sympathetic strings on an instrument. You know, if you strike the lower note, the higher note in the same octave vibrates, like on a sitar. Yeah, it's like you vibrate sympathetically with it, like a tuning fork or whatever. And so, you know, the sound of a culture's sound carries within it really that culture's story.
Yes.
And their music contains that. And again, going back to the illustration from the Psalms, that's one of the reasons why Psalm, it'll say, you know, do sing this to the tune of this song, play it on this instrument, because this instrument for some reason has a way of conveying that emotion. This tune, which was a popular folk tune, it's like lilies of something or another. Do not destroy is another one of the Psalm ones that it says do it to this tune. That has a way, it'll take the message and deliver it in a way that no other song will. It's like the power of music is kind of like this. You take a just a scene, a woman walking down a dark alley, you know, at nighttime. That's it. It's just, you know, the image of no sound, just silent. Okay.
Yeah.
Lay over top of that sort of goofy, like, da, 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 you know what I mean? What do you think's going to happen? I don't know. She's going to slip and fall. Something comedic's going to happen. Why? Because the music is comedic. You put over that some kind of like dun, 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 some strings. She's going to get mugged. You know,
Yeah,
put over that
ominous. Yeah, it
right.
sets the scene.
Yeah, put, you know, well, you can tell by the way I, you know, and you know,
Yeah.
she's gonna like whatever. It's like what the music. It's the same scene, but the music determines how you perceive it. There's a power that changes. It's the same scene, but it gives it a completely different vibe, completely different feeling. So,
what would the movie Jaws
Andrea,
be without the soundtrack by John Williams?
Exactly. Yeah, an open just the ocean, but instead of you know do put like, I don't know, some goofy like pirate music, and you're gonna have a totally different expectation of what's about to happen or something. Like but that's it. It's the music that makes it. It summons that fear, and that sound, that do literally sounds like something coming up from the depths.
It's from there, the bottom, you know? Gonna get you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing how you can, as soon as that soundtrack starts during that scene, you can feel your lungs tighten.
Yeah,
you can feel your shoulders like, you know, almost like this protective, like, oh my God, I don't want to watch. Oh my God. You know, you just know something awful is going to happen before it actually does. And that is what is evocative, but also provocative. It provokes a human emotional reaction. And it might just be 3 notes or 2 notes played over and over and over and over. But then the crescendo, and then the rise of the, you know, a while back, I got into a thing where I was listening to Eric Satie a lot. And I remember sending you, you know, several different versions of some of my favorite music, whether it was from him or somebody that covered the piece. And it was what I used. It was close to the end of my mother's life. And it was my escape. It was the music that I went to for comfort. It was the music that I went to so that I could restore myself and then get back to work taking care of her. I don't know. Hold on just 1 second, honey. 5 minutes and I'll have to step away.
Well, okay. That was from me. I've got to leave in a few, unfortunately.
Okay. Yes, that was from you. I'm sorry. I didn't have my glasses on.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay. No, that's fine, honey. And oh gosh, I forgot what I was. Oh yeah, the Eric Satie. And then I thought, if it's helping me, I need to bring it. I went to my mother, and in the last 4, 5, 6 months of her life, we would spend an inordinate amount of time listening to the music that she had loved her whole life. And my friends Cody and Satori, who practice Numanism, you know, they can touch and the spirits come through, and they had gotten a message sometime earlier last year that April came through, my sister, and said, "Play the Rose for Mom," by Bette Midler, and I couldn't, because I was afraid that if I did, April would come and take her, and I wasn't ready to let her go, and I know that Mom wasn't ready to go. But on the last day of her life was the day that I played the Rose for her, and we got Nancy on the phone. She was in Florida, and all the rest of us were here with her, and we played the Rose, and she left us that night. And so in a way, it ushered her out, and she listened to all of her, Carly Simon and James Taylor and Tom Rush and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young. And I mean, we went back, we listened to all of it.
Yeah.
And so in a way, Mom was ushered out of the world on the wings of angels, and the most sublime soundtrack that humanity ever created. And we ran the whole gamut from some, really beautiful, rich, deep orchestral pieces, all the way to popular music now that she particularly enjoyed a piece or two, and everything in between. And it was almost like a retrospective of her whole life.
Yeah.
So I understand that you have to go fetch a daughter, I believe.
Yeah. If I stayed in a little bit longer, so I probably won't be back to finish it out. But I wanted to,
okay,
rather than break it and come back, I figured we would just go with the flow. But I did want to say, the very first song that I ever learned to play on guitar, it was back in my pop punk days, but the name of the song was Andrea. First song I ever learned how to play on the guitar.
Really?
Really? Yep.
First song I ever learned to play on the guitar was The House of the Rising Sun.
Nice. Nice.
And we both just dated ourselves according to the decades in which we were raised.
We did. Mine's a little more obscure, so it'll be harder to look up, but still, but I really enjoyed this tonight immensely, and I am sorry that I have to duck out, but I've really enjoyed it, and amazing subject, and thank you so much for having the idea, because it's it resonated with me, and even my thoughts throughout the day as I was just going about my work and thinking along these lines. It was very enriching to even get back to some of the science of music and the science of sound and how it impacts us. And so this was beautiful and very enjoyable tonight, as always, and I needed it, as always.
Well, Bill is a hell of a musician himself.
Yeah, he is.
So I will see if I can maybe entice him to finish the show out with me, and maybe he'll even play one of his own pieces, which is impromptu. I shouldn't ask him and put him on the spot, but I'm going to, because I love him.
And ask him about Iron Maiden. I always ask him when the last time he saw Iron Maiden was, because it always seems like it was last week, because he seems to see him all the time.
Have a wonderful night. I'll see if I can't call the substitute into the classroom tonight. I love you all. I'll talk to you over the weekend.
Okay. Good night.
Good night, sweetheart. Okay, Bill, I don't know where you are, what you're doing, but if you would like to join me, we can just, pick up where Jeff left off. But in the interim, and he might, be busy, indisposed, we don't know. It is sometimes, there you are. You're so cute. You're so cute. Remember a couple of months ago, you had written a piece of music?
I have
and you played it on the show?
I have a few.
You do? Well, I think you're very talented, honey. And I think that you should. Did you just throw that shirt on? Because you weren't wearing that before. Were you running the show naked from the studio? I need to know.
When I heard you talking to Jeff, I was outside and I got caught in a rain shower. I was walking the dog, so I had to change shirts. Oh, I wrote, okay. And what you guys were saying is true. a lot of the music, well, there's a lot of artists out there that have been inspired by UFOs,
Yes, many.
a spiritual connection. Grant Cameron wrote books on this
Yeah.
about the musician's connection.
Yeah.
It can come in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
It could just come as a feeling like all of a sudden I'll just start writing lyrics.
Yeah, me too. I do the same thing.
It just comes.
Right. It's a gift.
It is a gift.
Yeah.
So what I do is I write my lyrics, whatever the theme is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I use it's called Suno. It's an AI generated a music maker. But I still have to select the type of music that's going to go with my lyrics.
Yeah.
It's a process because a lot of the AI generated music, to be honest, is subpar.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to change the types of genre that I write with. In other words, one song might sound like rock, the other one might sound like a fun disco dance song.
Mm-hmm.
Another one might sound more like it's humorous. But I don't want to be stuck in a specific genre of writing. But like, do you remember the song that I played here?
I know I remember the sound of the song. I don't remember the title, but I do know that it was kind of out of this world stuff. You know, it was.
It might have been my Skywatcher song.
Yes, it might have been your Skywatcher song.
But like, I'll put the video so people could read the lyrics. And Witch Moon, where the heck have you been in my streams? I'm just saying. She's awesome. They're all awesome. Everybody in that chat room.
I know.
You
we
know.
have the best chat on Wi-Fi around the world. We do. We have the best audience and the best people. And oh my God, I don't know if you know this, Bill, but you know, every Friday night when we finish our shows, well, tonight's just one show, but usually we do this and back to back with the World Awakening. By the time we close out, and I have a method to my madness and a routine. And at 11 o'clock when we're done, the puppies go outside. I go with them. I come back in about 7 minutes later, and my phone has exploded from people talking to me, sending me messages about how moved they were, how touched they were, how their mind was expanded, how they were changed by watching what we put out week in and week out. And, you know, frankly, they don't care how I look. They don't care if my voice is scratchy or if I sound, you know, a little tired, or they don't care. What they're listening to and what they're tapping into is the frequency. And I'm often told that the way I speak is lyrical, and that the tone of my voice is musical. I have been told that countless times in my life. And I know that that is a manifestation of the gift of the art. It is. And the same way, you know, like Jeff said, a lot comes through dreams to him. It does for me as well. I know it does for you as well. But really, dream state is an altered state of consciousness where we are completely, totally unencumbered by 3D. We are completely removed from the oppressive weight of the world that is on us when we are conscious and being bombarded with stimuli from everywhere. And we have to be very selective about what we listen to, what we watch, what we do, what we say, what we, you know, it's a very, very targeted existence that we live. But when we're in dream state, we are free to fly. We can go all through the universe. We can take in whatever the universe is sending to us. I don't know if you get downloads the way I get downloads, but I'm assuming that you do. And they come and they're like music. They're They're high pitched, low pitched frequencies, sometimes one ear, sometimes both at the same time, sometimes through here. Sometimes it's third eye, sometimes it's like at the base of the skull. It's different, and I don't know if that means that it's coming from different sources or it's the same source, but it's just hitting me from a different direction. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Okay. There are times when I'm dreaming and I hear music in the dream. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, when I wake up, I've got to put this down. I've got to record it because I'm going to forget it. It just comes out of nowhere. I don't know where it comes. I cannot say where it's coming from, but it just comes. But a lot of times it's also because my own definition of spirituality, I always say this when I'm streaming, is being at peace with yourself and your surroundings. And like I could meditate simply by laying in my pool and opening myself up to all the things that are going on around me. It's like your senses are on steroids.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it's like an aura. It's like an energy.
Yeah.
And it's a positive energy. So when I write my music, my lyrics, it's inspirational. It can have multiple meanings depending on who's listening to it. Like I wrote a song about bike riding, but at the same time, it's a motivating song.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about bike riding. I'm going to play one for you.
Good.
And I'm going to share the lyrics on the screen. I just got to make sure I pick the right one because I make multiple versions of one song. And because you know how we are with, we're involved with the UFO stuff. And so let me just see.
Involved is the understatement of the new millennium. Okay.
Hold on a second. Let me pause it. Let's get it ready. Could you hear that?
Yes.
Okay. It's called Alien Disclosure.
Okay.
And obviously it's going to, when those that are familiar with this topic read the lyrics, you'll understand where I'm coming from. A person that may not be familiar with the nuances that go behind the scenes in this field may not quite get it, but I think you will. But I wrote this song specifically about disclosure. And I'm going to share it now. So I'm going to mute. I'm going to put it on the screen. These are the lyrics with the song. And again, I write everything. And you know what the great thing is? I own the rights to everything because I'm writing the lyrics.
Yes. Yep.
I can play it on YouTube and anywhere I want.
Wonderful.
That's the good thing.
Yeah.
So I've written songs for shows for their intros. So let me just share the screen and sit back. And then I want your honest assessment. And those in chat too.
Yes. Feel free to pipe up in chat.
Witch Moon, she's busy. She comes in. She knows what it's about when I'm streaming.
She does indeed.
Like Candace came in today.
Good.
But thoughts and prayers to Candace. She's going through a little bit.
She's going through some difficulties. Yes.
But let me just share the screen. Yes. And she's awesome. She's a sweetheart.
She's my girl.
Like I say, all these people that are in chat, they're amazing people because I watch the chat, and I try not to disrupt you while you're doing a live show. I do it in the beginning usually, because I don't want to get you off your focus off. So, folks, it's not intentional, but she does go and look at the comments after the show.
I do. And I also answer everything that comes in here. I got a new phone. Oh, look at the pretty color. Ooh, it's my color. My sister gave it to me for Christmas, and I hooked it up 2 days ago.
All right, so I'm going to mute the microphone. I'm going to mute, and I'm going to play this. I hope everybody enjoys it, and I'm going to do that right now.
Decades of denial, a mission of proof. Top secret clearance, obstructing the truth. How long have they been here? Where do they come from? Is this just conspiracy? Do they think we are dumb? Do we have control over the skies and in the sea? Inside a home, what do you want from me? Alien in appearance, or under a false guise? A message for humanity, or an ominous surprise? The truth is out there, will we ever be told? Government denial, disinformation, behold. Evidence classified, no need for exposure. Special access programs block the path to disclosure. Whistleblowers seek protection under fire and scrutiny. Threats and intimidation, doubts of credibility. Sown by those denying the truth, disinformation campaign. False flag propaganda, attention starts to wane. What will it take for disclosure to occur? A landing at the White House, undeniable truth creates a stir. Declassified documents finally released. The proof is now out there, but will humanity believe? The truth is out there, will we ever be told? Government denial, disinformation, behold. Evidence classified.
So you get the vibe, right?
Oh, I got the vibe, babe.
But see, I picked because that's a topic that's important to me.
Yes, me too.
And I know it's important to you. And I know it's important to many people.
Yes.
And I just put it for real. I mean, I just laid it out there because that's exactly what we're dealing with.
Every word of every line of your lyrics was the truth. The truth. And the truth is that we have been lied to, bold-faced lied to, for decades and decades and decades, because for them to tell the truth would undermine their own authority. It would be an admission that there was something that was more powerful than them. And that's just the truth of it, Bill. I mean, it's simple.
It's Pandora's box.
It is.
And that's why they don't want to do it, because it's just going to, if people have the doubt as it is now, can you imagine?
Yeah.
It's just going to increase. So then, just to be on the same theme here.
Yeah.
This is a fun one. Now, it's a Christmassy one. I wrote it for Christmas.
Mm-hmm. This is the one that you played on the show the first time.
All right, so I'm not going to play that one then.
Oh, no, you can play it was, last year. Play it.
Because it has the alien theme. That's why I was going to play it. It's like a connection. But again, I write about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just that. Like, I have like so many songs. So that's the one I played?
Yes.
Okay, so then
I think so. Play it, and then I'll tell you if that's.
I'll play it.
You sent me several, that I've just played in my own,
So what I'll do, should I just show it on the screen, or
Yeah, show it on the screen.
Okay, hold on. Let me. Oh my God, my dog almost gave me a heart attack. It's raccoons in the backyard. Did you see that?
And yeah, my dog's unusually quiet tonight. I don't even. Oh, Peanut's asleep. She's asleep.
So it's, like I said, it's a Christmas song with a twist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Santa's Elves. Just let me know if this is the one.
Okay.
That you're aware of. Because I could play for those that have never heard it,
Yeah.
All right, hold on. And then I got one for you. Another one.
Okay. Is it a love song? Is it a love song because you love me?
I I do have one. It's more fun. Maybe we'll do that one.
Okay.
All right. I even wrote a song about Momzilla. We won't do that one.
Don't even. You know I love Elizabeth. Don't you even.
Okay, so check this. This is a nice one. It's
Oh, I love the image with the moon and the tree. Beautiful.
oh, but wait till you hear the song. It's got a twist.
The moonlight shines bright on this Christmas Eve. Excitement's in the air, waiting for family to finally leave. Cookies left for Santa near the wallet tree. A sudden noise in my bedroom, I cover my eyes not to see. Could that be Santa's elves stirring in the night? Why would they be in my room? Suddenly it gets so bright, a noise heard on the roof above. Could that be Santa's sleigh? I close my eyes once again, holding my breath as I lay. Here come Santa's elves. Why do they look so strange? They seem to be floating. Appearance seems to change. Their eyes shaped like almonds, speaking without talking. They say we will meet again as they leave without provoking. I peek to take a look. They seem to be so small, gray, not green in color, and surely not as tall. As they exit through the walls, I run to the window. A huge ornament in the sky, like the moon, it seems to glow. Without a sound, it hangs there. It moves in a blink of the eye. That didn't look like Santa's sleigh or his elves, I cannot lie. No one will ever believe me. Visitors from an otherworldly place. One thing that's for sure, I will never forget that face. Here come Santa's elves. Why do they look so strange? They seem to.
What do you think of that one?
I love play it all the way to the end.
Okay.
Their eyes shaped like almonds, speaking without talking. They say we will meet again as they leave without provoking. Here come Santa's elves. Why do they look so strange? They seem to be floating. Appearance seems to change. Their eyes shaped like almonds, speaking without talking. They say we will meet again as they leave without provoking.
That's great.
You like
That's great, Bill. That is so much fun. Hey,
point. That's the point. It's a fun song.
yeah, and you know what? We need to play that again, closer to Christmas, closer to the holidays. I'm not traveling a whole lot this year. I'm not. I'm just doing a couple of events, couple of more. So we'll be around and our holiday celebration and everything a lot of it will just happen on A World Awakening and Soul School. And so, that's great. I would love to share that on the other show too.
Absolutely. And you know what I think I might do? I might make a song just about you next.
Okay.
I'm going to write a song dedicated to you.
I'm all in on that. And if you need any
no, I don't need a thing.
details-
I don't need a freaking thing. So the Mad V says it's so weird you're talking about this music and dreams because I just finished writing and producing in my first original composition scored today, and its name is I Had a Dream.
Oh wow. Talk about synchronicity. There it is.
And it's incredible how the AI creates that.
Yeah.
The music. But I have to go through a lot of things to make it sound
Oh
that.
yeah, it doesn't create itself. I mean,
I
it's
mean,
interactive. I would never use it because I just that's not my thing.
Right.
First of all, I am so techno averse, as you well know. As you well know, Bill, you can't get into the link. What the fuck is this thing on the? You know,
dude.
I mean, you know me. I'm like on the phone screaming. I can't get in the link. I can't open the link. What is this? And I'm having a nervous breakdown because of technology, which is my nemesis and also my savior. Both. So, but anyway, no,
Anybody,
my process is very personal and very, yeah.
Anybody could write. Anyone.
Yeah.
All you got to do is just put your heart, your passion, and just interpret your feelings and your thoughts onto paper.
Yes.
Think of something that interests you, or pick a topic, pick a subject, and just write it out.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. It's not, you know what I mean? It's
but not everybody finds it as easy as you do and as I do, or Jeff. I mean, it comes to me. I've written hundreds of songs over the course of. I've recorded some. So long ago, I've lost them. I recorded them on cassette players, for God's sakes.
I did that too.
Did you?
On my phone. It sounds horrible, but
yeah. But you know what? I found inspiration in the music of others. And I would have to say, when I was growing up, the first time I heard Tapestry by Carole King, I was changed. I was changed by that piece of music. And I would encourage everyone who is within earshot of this broadcast tonight, when this show is over tonight, pick up the little Google machine in your phone and Google Tapestry by Carole King, and you will be transformed. Not just the 5 modulations of the music, not just the levels, and as it rises and it rises, and she just with such ease and grace passes from one key to the next, to the next, to the next, and then the pinnacle of the ending of that song will rip your heart out and hand it back to you healed.
The thing that got me into music as a very small child, and to this day I could hear it and love it, and I could hear it every day. And actually, Jeff touched on it earlier.
Really?
When he said do re mi. The sound of music.
Oh my God. I was weaned on it. Yeah.
That is the one that put me to the musical direction from like 4 years old. That was what taught me like music, like just listening. That movie was so impactful in my life. Yeah. And then like you, inspired by other, but like the harmonies of Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh my God. I know. And I almost, they came right to my lips, and then we were so engrossed in our conversation that Jeff picked up and I didn't get to say Simon and Garfunkel. But I mean, their music, Paul Simon's music, Art Garfunkel's voice, and the blending of the two.
Exactly. It's musical genius. It's just the composition.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, same thing. I mean, you can feel it in your body.
I love all music. All music. I do, because as a musician, I just love all music.
Oh, I'm a huge Yo-Yo Ma fan, by the way. I mean, give me cello.
Yep.
Oh my God,
He was a prodigy. He was a prodigy. He was a child prodigy.
Yeah, so. He was child prodigy.
But now I'm going to show you one last thing. Okay. Now the song is with an actual video. It's my video. Mm-hmm. This is what inspires me. Like tomorrow, I'll be doing this. What you're going to see. Okay. This is what changed my life when I had the heart issue a year and a half ago.
Yes, I remember it well.
And
I was scared for you.
And I lost 70 pounds since.
Yeah.
Because of it.
Yeah, you look pretty svelte. You do. At least from the nipples up. Yeah. Well,
This is the meditative power for me. This is what really put me over that.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll figure it out with the lyrics of the song and when you watch the actual video, because this is an actual video of me doing something. I'm gonna share the screen. I love this. This is the first one I wrote when I started writing again.
Good.
And it's about my bike riding, but it may not just be about bike riding.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I said earlier, songs have multiple meanings depending on the interpretation to the person that's listening to the lyrics.
Absolutely.
This is inspirational. It can be, that way. So here we go. And I'm going to mute.
Okay.
In the mist of the morning dew, daylight appears within the sky. A clearing appears in a path below. A movement blurs the eye as it moves by. The power of the mind as the petals roar. Hands held tight upon the silver bar, reaching new heights as it continues to soar.
Walking through the tracks, hitting those beats, never looking back. Pedal to the metal, no limit in sight. Dust clouds left behind, cyclone through the night. Roll, clouds stir, eagles glide above. No regrets, this is what I love. The path reveals a light. My body starts to purge. Energy ignites. We continue to search. Upon the clearing path, the rider nears its end. Glimmering light approaches the bend, cutting like a blade into the wind of glory. Cross the finish line in a champion story. Riding all the gears, struggling through an uphill climb. Pushing all limits, will I make it this time? Reaching to the top to stop the decline. Cruising to the movement, machine making it mine. Riding it fast, walking through the tracks, hitting off beats, never looking back. Pedal to the metal, no limit in sight. Dust clouds left behind.
Watch this coming up now. Watch this.
Storm clouds stir, eagles glide above. No regrets, this is what I love. The path reveals a light. My body starts to purge. Energy ignites. We continue to search. Upon the clearing path, the rider nears its end. Glimmering light approaches the bend, cutting like a blade into the wind of glory. finish line in the midst of the morning dew. Daylight appears within the sky. A clearing appears in a path below. A movement blurs the eye as it moves by. The power of the light as the petals roar. Hands held tight on the silver path, reaching new heights as it continues to soar. Riding it fast, rocking through the tracks, hitting all speeds, never looking back. Pedal to the metal, no limit in sight. Dust clouds left behind, cyclone through the night. Ooh. Storm clouds stir, eagles flying above. No regrets, this is what I love. The path reveals light. My body starts to purge. Energy ignites. We continue to search. Upon the clearing path, the rider nears its end. Glimmering light approaches the bend, cutting like a blade into the wind of glory. Cross the finish line in a champion story. Riding it fast, rocking through the.
What do you think? Oh, I got you muted. Hold on. Let me get you unmuted. There you go.
Hi. That's so great. Oh my God, where you live is so beautiful. I mean, I'm very familiar with that part of the country, of course. And there's just nothing like it. There's just nothing like it.
But it's being, I go bike riding by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that it's an amazing energy, positive energy when you're out there and all that beauty's around you and you're enjoying what you're doing, the bike ride, and you're just absorbing all this in. When I'm riding, you know, I put music on, I have music in my earbuds, but I have the biggest smile because I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
And I do 30 miles when I go bike riding all the time, always 30 or more.
Mm-hmm.
It's an e-bike, so I can do pedal assist to help me if I need that.
Yeah.
But like tomorrow, I'm going out there if the weather cooperates, and I'm going to do that. It gets me, it releases my stress.
Yeah, it releases your endorphins too.
So the power of music, especially if it's inspirational, it can be self-healing.
Mm-hmm.
It can be great for your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual,
yeah,
all those aspects.
Yeah. I got a message from Jonathan Altieri on my phone saying he was listening to Anya. My mother's favorite. Anya was my mother's favorite singer, and just absolutely. What? I lost you.
No, I was talking to Mom.
Oh, okay. Hi, Elizabeth.
She says,
"Hi there, sweetheart."
It's my girl. I love her. You'd be nice to her. No, Enya is just, and one of my favorites, what I find transformational music is a group called Secret Garden. I don't know it. Oh my God. Play the entire album, White Stones.
Wait, I got to write this down. What is Secret Garden? White Stone or Stone?
White Stones.
Okay. I got to remember because I can't find a pen. I'll definitely check.
I'll text it to you. Yeah.
Secret Garden, White Stones.
White Stones. Yeah. Listen to everything. I mean, everything that they've created is absolutely magnificent. But that is of all of their music, that's my favorite album, and I love the whole album. Just like when I said earlier, Elton John, his song "Love Song," which I find incredibly deep and prophetic. Just absolutely beautiful piece of music, but it's on the album Tumbleweed Connection. So that's how you can find that one. And if you really, really want to delve deeply into post-visitation Moody Blues, listen to In Search of the Lost Chord, CHORD.
They were inspired. They were inspired.
They were downloaded. They said
Yes.
that they were just that they became conduits. They had all of the musical expertise, you know, with their voices and all of the elements of musicians, all of their mastery of their different instruments and so on. But they used that to create what they put out into the world that is just full of messages for humanity.
I want you now to watch something for me after this. You could just jump on YouTube. I'm going to put the title in the chat because we only got like 2 minutes left, unfortunately.
Oh, how can that be? How can that be? Your atomic clock has failed you.
But this time I get to tell you on the air, not behind the scenes.
That's true.
I want you to check. I don't know. You might have seen it. Yanni.
Yeah.
Live at the Acropolis.
Yes, I've seen it. Yes, it's amazing.
The song Within Attraction.
Mm-hmm.
It is the most unbelievable musical piece with all those talented musicians doing their thing. I mean, I'm so impressed. Every time I watch that video, I'm like, the drummer, like,
I know that it's amazing.
Oh
Amazing. But also make sure that you listen to an eclectic mix of music because all of it speaks to us.
I agree.
All of the, you know, I mean, I can listen to bluegrass. I can listen to classical music, which, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Mozart and Rachmaninoff and Tchaikovsky. You know, if I want to get all revved up and like really into it, I'll just, you know, put on the Four Seasons. I mean, it's just, you know, it's everything. You know, I have been asked, Bill, I've been asked in interviews, and I don't know why people ask me this, but they do. If I had to lose one of my senses, if I had to part with one of my senses, would I rather lose my sight or lose my hearing? And it's the easiest question I could ever answer. Because if I couldn't hear music anymore, I'm done. I'm done. There's no reason to be here if the music goes silent.
And before we go, okay?
Oh, God. What are you doing? Oh, okay. All right.
No, before we go, because he brought this up earlier. Jeff, the Iron Maiden stuff. Well, let's take a look because I do love metal. Here is my Iron Maiden corner over there.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, the room is crazy. This is a crazy room.
You've got like a shrine to Iron Maiden.
Yes, I do. I've seen them 20 times. So, and I'm in a Rush video. I've made my rounds, Annie.
Have you?
Yes.
Oh, I might like to hear that story.
I wish, you know what, because I only met you briefly. We got to wrap, and I really would love to spend more time with you and hang out, you know.
I will come or you come to me. But yes, we will make that happen. I'm healing remarkably well. And it's doing this 2 hours. You know, I don't know if our viewers really understand how integral they are to my healing. And that goes for you too, Bill.
They're amazing. The people in that chat are amazing. All of them.
Yes, they are. And I love them. I love them all. And I love you with all my heart. And thank you. Thank you for tonight. And thank you to Jeff. And we'll close out the show with the same thing I say and remind people it bears repeating. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Be that beacon of hope. that lights the way for others, and always, always be the light you seek. We love you all. Thank you. Good night, and class dismissed.